Hello coaster lovers, it is now the year 2025, which is actually pretty insane, but we got some business to take care of. 2025 is going to be a stacked year for coasters. From coasters that shoot out of a mountain to 600-foot beasts, 2025 will be a worthy year. It has a lot of quality coasters than last year, aka 2024. So we got a total of 39 coasters to go through. And before we start, I'm excluding coasters that do not have a lot of coverage and don't have a name yet. But I'll show a list of mentions of them right here. And one more thing, let's try to hit 700 subscribers until 2026. So if you want to help us get to our goal, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So I'll be listing them off in alphabetical order. So let's start off with Adrenaline coming to Six Flags Qiddiya. This will be a Vekoma suspended family coaster along the lines of Dragonflyer at Dollywood, but it's going to be a bigger version of that, and we know it's going to be 66 feet tall and hit a speed up to 45 miles per hour and a total track length of 1,621 feet, but I am not 100% sure this park is going to be opening in 2025. It's just a shot in the dark. But let's go to a coaster that has its construction starting late. It's Alpenfury opening up at Canada's Wonderland. This is the wacky 9-inversion Premier Leaping Coaster opening up next year, but is this a good fit for the park? I'm at 50-50. I think the 9 inversions are a little much, but at least the park has another coaster to fit into the top 3 with Leviathan, Behemoth, and Yukon Striker. This is also one of the few coasters on here that I have an analysis for, so you can check that out for more in-depth thoughts. Now let's go to one of the more obscure ones, such as Andromeda Base coming to Genting Skyworlds. This will be the second ever Dynamic Attractions SFX coaster, the first one being Mission Ferrari at Ferrari World, so this will feature a lot of tricks and an outdoor portion. And I've also not seen a POV of Mission Ferrari yet, and probably never will. It's because I don't want to spoil the experience for myself, but Andromeda Base might be a little superior because of the outdoor portion. And sticking with strange coasters, the next one is definitely a strange one, and it's with Antares coming to Connieland. My apologies if I didn't pronounce that right, but the one and only theme park in Switzerland is getting an RES rollerball. It's a bigger version of Wilde Hilde at Schwaben Park, which is shown on screen, but will sadly be not themed to chickens. Instead, it's themed to knights. But these rollerball coasters are so quirky and weird, but I've heard they are pretty fun. Now let's go back to the United States for 2 more coasters, starting off with Beach Rescue Racer coming to SeaWorld San Antonio. This is the first ever Discovery launch coaster built by Zier, and it's a bigger version of Super Grovers at SeaWorld Orlando, which is shown on screen. You can't see much of the layout here, but it does feature some helixes, and this will do great in SeaWorld San Antonio's lineup, since the Super Grovers is in storage. Their least thrilling coaster for right now is Wavebreaker, but this will be a suitable first coaster for kids. And speaking of family coasters, Big Bad Wolf, The Wolf's Revenge is making its way to Busch Gardens Williamsburg next year. This will be the second ever B&M family invert coming to America, the first one being at Busch Gardens Williamsburg's sister park, Phoenix Rising at Busch Gardens Tampa. I did get to ride that once, and it wasn't the smoothest coaster at that park, so I'm a little worried this one will be the exact same, but at least this one has cool theming right here. It does give vibes of the original Big Bad Wolf. So now we're going to stay with the B&M family invert theme with Big Lego Coaster coming to Legoland Shanghai. This will be another family invert, but I want to throw this in here is because the construction of this coaster is almost done and is straight out of a kid's dream, and combine that with a solid layout, and it'll be a smash hit with little kids. And speaking of family coasters, let's go from Shanghai to Glendale, Arizona for Bone Shaker, the ultimate ride coming to Mattel Adventure Park. Bone Shaker will be one of 2 coasters coming to Mattel Adventure Park, and this will be the family coaster. It features these airtime hills on top of the building and an outdoor double helix. This should be a fun coaster for kids. Now we can take a break from pictures and go back to videos with the Gerstlauer Spinner coming to ParcAdvisor. No offense to the French who are watching this, but I have not a clue on how to pronounce the name of this coaster. But this will be another family coaster on the list, and it's going to feature some fly-throughs such as this one right here. And I think ParcAdvisor has a great coaster collection, and this spinner will boost that lineup a bit. Now let's go from Paris to Austin, Texas for Circuit Breaker coming to Codaland. This is one of 3 Vekoma Tilt coasters that are opening this year, and I don't expect this one to open first, but it has been delayed for years, so it's about time for this to open. It'll feature a really cool layout with a patriotic color scheme, and since it's located next door to a famous racetrack, it's going to make some killer photo ops. Now let's go back to Saudi Arabia for Colossus coming to Six Flags Qiddiya. This will be the GCI Wooden Twister coming to Six Flags Qiddiya, and I expect this to be a top tier GCI. The layout is fantastic and it will feature the Infinity Flyer trains. The ones on Zambezi Zinger were not praised a lot, but that's a prototype, so this one will fix all the kinks with the other one. This might be the second best coaster at Six Flags Qiddiya, but we'll come to this park later. Now let's go from Saudi Arabia to Orlando, Florida for Curse of the Werewolf coming to the one and only Universal's Epic Universe. This is a mock ride spinning coaster with a swing launch, and it actually reminds me of a baby time traveler. It's also going to feature a cool werewolf animatronic where the swing launches, and it's combined with a cool layout too. I have no idea when I'm gonna hit up Epic Universe this year. Maybe not, because it's going to be slammed every single day. But next up we got is the ride of 2025, and it's the one and only Falcon's Flight coming to Six Flags Qiddiya. Along with Colossus and Adrenaline, Six Flags Qiddiya is opening the world's tallest, fastest, and longest roller coaster. And this coaster is so ethereal looking. It goes up 640 feet into the Tuic Mountains. But the tallest freestanding part of the coaster is only 100 feet shorter than the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, which is unheard of. And the great thing about Falcon's Flight is that it's not a one-trick pony. It has a fantastic looking layout. I feel like this coaster has a decent shot of opening this year, but it will have a 9-month commissioning plan, so that should be fun. So I'm not overly confident about it. A ride that I feel confident about opening this year is Fire Runner going to Lost Island. I know that this is a POV of Stunt Pilot, but Fire Runner is going to be the exact same, just with a longer train. But this will be a new gen RMC Raptor layout with Jersey Devil colors. And this is a coaster Lost Island needed. They did not have a major standout coaster, and this will be their major standout coaster. This will cause a lot of people to go out to Lost Island to check this thing out. Sticking with coasters that start with an F, this was supposed to open last year, but it didn't. It is Flash Vertical Velocity coming to Six Flags Great Adventure. This park probably had the worst 50th anniversary yet. This was delayed, King Decot and Green Lantern were retired for good, Harley Quinn derailed, and Joker collided on the lift hill. What a year for that park. But as for the ride, it's the first Vekoma Super Boomerang in America. The layout is very compact, but at least it's decent, and it is a pretty ride to watch cycle. And sticking with delayed attractions, that will lead us into Georgia Surfer opening up at Six Flags Over Georgia. Just like Flash, this was supposed to open last year in 2024, but it didn't. And it's also a first of a kind model, the Ultra Surf. It's basically a mix of a mock Power Splash and an intimate half-pipe coaster, and I think it's a solid choice for this park. But they did not have a launch coaster, a spinning coaster, nor a lot of water rides, and this unique coaster will fill in all those gaps in the park's lineup, and it should be pretty good too. Now let's go to a coaster that was also delayed for years like Circuit Breaker or Andromeda Base. It's Gozimba at Serengeti Park. I think this coaster has a big shot of opening this year, and it's also a first of a kind model just like Georgia Surfer, but it's a RES Air Loop model, so the trains are basically Gerslauer Skyfly trains. The layout is very basic, but it's the ride experience that makes this coaster stand out. It's basically a Skyfly or a Sky Roller from Gerslauer, but make it a roller coaster, and you got Gozimba. It's really quirky, and I can see this coaster popping up on social media saying, "Would you ride this?" Now let's go down to Austria for Fantasiana's Helios. This will be the second ever mock ride striker coaster, the first one being Voltron at Europa Park, and this will be replacing the legendary Wild Train coaster. But let's have a moment of silence for Wild Train real quick. It will be sorely missed, but I think this coaster will be better, and it's almost complete with construction. It will be more compact than Voltron 2. The layout is wacky, but it's pretty solid. Now let's go back to Epic Universe for Hiccup's Wing Gliders. This coaster is oddly reminiscent of Cheetah Hunt over at Busch Gardens, Tampa. It's because it's an intimate family coaster with low to the ground transitions, but this will be a great mild thrill coaster. I never really watched How to Train Your Dragon, but I think it'll have really cool theming throughout the ride course. It'll feature a couple of launches too, but now let's go back to Six Flags Qiddiya for Iron Rattler. No, not the RMC at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This will be a hyper tilt coaster, and just like Falcon's Flight, it's also not a one-trick pony. The tilt aspects is combined with the great looking layout. This will easily be one of the best new gen Vekomas out there as soon as this opens. Now let's go back to Universal's Epic Universe for Donkey Kong Minecart Madness. A clone of this already opened at Universal Studios Japan, so we're getting one of these in America. This will feature fake track jumps along the course, and there's a section of the ride where it has some S-bends with broken up fake track. It's very clever theming, but if you remove the theming entirely, it might have not gained an entry here, but I expect this to be pretty good. Now let's go across the Gulf of Mexico back to Codaland for Palindrome. This Infinity was delayed a lot, but it's looking likely that this will open in 2025. Track work has been completed for a while, so hopefully we're going to see some testing soon. And this is basically the American equivalent of Mystic if you ever rode that ride at Wabi Roan Alps. They are both small-scale shuttle Infinity coasters. The cool thing about this one is that it hops over a road with a stall, so that should feature scary hang time. Now let's go from Austin, Texas to Agua, Massachusetts for Quantum Accelerator coming to Six Flags New England. This will be the Lone Straddle coaster opening in 2025, and Six Flags New England should have added this years ago. The layout has a lot of low-baking moments and crossovers with other track pieces, but I expect this one to ride along the lines of Wavebreaker, Dark Coaster, Arctic Rescue, those type of straddle coasters instead of the ones like Juvalin, Jet Rescue, and Yukon Quad. But I do wish they tore out the nearby flashback to add in a Max Force style ride, but that's never gonna happen. And speaking of launch coasters, let's go south to Doswell, Virginia for Rapterra opening up at King's Dominion. The long-awaited volcano replacement is coming in the form of Rapterra coming this year, and just like the prior B&Ms that opened recently such as Phoenix Rising, this is going to be a shaky ride. B&M nowadays is using a cheaper equivalent to steel, and that's the main reason why the newer coasters are rougher. The layout here has a lot of variety with inversions and non-inversions, and it does fit into King's Dominion's lineup too. The two standout coasters in Pantherian and Twisted Timbers are kind of much to the GP, so a nice suitable extreme coaster will make the GP happy. Now let's go back to Six Flags Qiddiya for the next two spots. Let's start off with Sawmill Falls. This will be a near clone of Poseidon at Europa Park, so Poseidon POV will settle for now. The stats are very similar, but most of the ride is pretty much unknown, so let's move across the park into Sea Stallion, also at Six Flags Qiddiya. Unlike Sawmill Falls, this ride does have off-ride footage. This will be a Mobius Loop dueling Maurer Spike coaster, and these things are getting popular, but this one actually looks pretty intriguing. It goes over a water ride and some rock work, and these are really good coasters for children. It'll be a smash hit at Six Flags Qiddiya. Now let's go from Yad all the way down to Branson, Missouri for Shootout at Oasis at Lakeport. No, we're not going to Silver Dollar City. They already got Fire in the Hole 2.0, but there's a new resort opening with a theme park, known as Oasis at Lakeport, and they're opening up two new coasters. One is a Vekoma family boomerang called Shootout, and this is the Reed Bond model, so it's a clone of Snoopy Soapbox Racers at Kings Island. I actually got to ride Snoopy's, and it's actually really fun. The first turn after the drop pulled more positive G's than I was expecting, and going up the spike is pretty fun. So if you're a kid and watching this, you'll love the family boomerangs. And speaking of Vekomas, let's go up to Sandusky, Ohio for Siren's Curse coming to Cedar Point. This will be the last tilt coaster I'm going to be talking about, and this was the most surprising coaster announcement of 2024. We all did not see Cedar Point adding a tilt coaster so soon, and this will replace the Cedar Point dorms. The layout is pretty good, and the tilt aspect will really drive the GP wild. This gives me another excuse to go to Cedar Point as well. And speaking of Six Flags parks, next up we got is a bit strange, but I'm not mad about it. It's Snoopy's Racing Railway coming to Carowinds. A clone of this coaster already exists at Canada's Wonderland, so Carowinds is getting the same thing. Their family coaster lineup consists of old and outdated coasters like Carolina Gold Rusher and Kitty Hawk, so a nice modern kiddie coaster at Carowinds would work here. They only got one launch coaster in Copperhead Strike, so it is nice seeing another launch coaster at Carowinds. And speaking of launch coasters, let's go fly from Charlotte, North Carolina to Brussels, Belgium for Speedboat over at Wallaby, Belgium. This will be the first ever airtime coaster built by Gerstlauer, and it's very reminiscent of a ride like Fire Chaser, but Gerstlauer does have some fantastic family coasters, and Speedboat is no different. It's very low to the ground, and it features two launches split with an airtime hill in the middle. It's like Pantheon or Tutatis. This coaster is a little too similar to Tiki Waka, but if you ignore that, it's a great fit into Wallaby, Belgium. So for the next coaster, let's go back to Six Flags Qiddiya for Spitfire. This is basically a mini Top Thrill 2, because it has a swing launch, spike, and top hat, but the top hat will be like Mr. Freeze instead, so it goes upside down. The layout is very short, so it's kind of a one-trick pony. If you ever rode Pantheon or Busch Gardens Williamsburg, this is it if you take out everything except the spike, launch, and top hat. After the top hat, you just hop into the Briggs. They could have done more, but enough negative talk. One of the coasters up next is also one of the rides of 2025, and it's Stardust Racers coming to Universal's Epic Universe. This will be Epic Universe's standout coaster, and wow, it is something else. It is a mock dueling launch coaster, and watching the train cycle is like a performance, especially when the trains go through the celestial spin, which is shown on screen. It's going to be really cool experiencing that element while you're dueling the other train, and as a plus, the layout for both sides is amazing, and the trains are gorgeous too. I don't know if I'm going to Epic Universe this year. Maybe I will, maybe not. Now let's go down the border into Mexico for Taquani Beast. This will be Vedanta World's standout coaster, but none of the other coasters had made the list. It's because they're kind of fluff rides. These are true major coasters opening in 2025 I'm talking about, but Taquani Beast is one of them, and wow, it has an action-packed layout. The trains were revealed at IAAPA 2024, and they are so sleek, and watching the coaster cycle with that front car will be a spectacle, and this does have the chance to be the best coaster in Mexico as soon as it opens. Now let's go back to Saudi Arabia, but not for Six Flags Qiddiya, it's for Transformers opening at 7 Yanbu. This will be the first ever SNS Axis coaster, and when I first heard of this coaster model, I thought nobody was going to buy it, but now I know it's not dead. This does have a short layout, but that's okay because it's a prototype, so it's bound to break down a lot, but at least it has some cool theming, so I can imagine this being on a lot of coaster enthusiasts' bucket lists. So let's go from a desert to another desert and talk about Twin Mill Racer coming to Mattel Adventure Park. After nearly a decade, we're finally getting another Chance Hyper GTX. This has been a long time coming, and just like Circuit Breaker and Palindrome, it was also delayed for years, but it's looking likely to open in 2025. The layout here is pretty good with its two inversions. It mixes some high banking turns, which makes the pacing a little questionable, but at least it's themed to Hot Wheels, which I used to like playing with them when I was little. So it's surreal seeing a Hot Wheels themed roller coaster. Now let's go to the heart of Vienna, Austria for Wiener Looping at Prater. First of all, I'm not calling the park Wiener Prater, but this will be the third ever mock Big Dipper, and just like Twin Mill Racer, it was also delayed for years, but construction of the layout is pretty much complete, but we haven't seen testing yet, but hopefully soon. It does have a wacky layout too. It starts off with a beyond vertical drop, and there's a banana roll and a finish loop. Need I say more? But I expect this to be a fun coaster. Probably the best permanent coaster at Prater. Now let's go back to the United States for the hyped up Wrath of Rakshasa coming to Six Flags Great America. This will be another dive coaster opening in the US, and this one was a long time coming too, and I also have an analysis on this coaster too, so you can check that out as well. The layout here is pretty good with its 5 inversions, the most unique of them being this demonic knot element. So if you're familiar with that element over at Hyde Park's Flugtour Daemonen, this will be the same thing but on a dive coaster, and it'll feature a 96-degree drop, 1 degree steeper than Iron Menace and Dr. Diabolical, and I think this coaster will be a smash hit at Six Flags Great America, and that also gives me an excuse to go. So that's the final coaster we're talking about in America, but it's not the final one in North America. Let's travel across the border to Muskoka with Yeti Trek. This will be going to Santa's Village up in Canada, and this is honestly the most underrated new for 2025 coaster in my opinion. No one is talking about this coaster, but the layout is actually pretty cool. It does use the terrain to its advantage, and since it's a Vekoma family coaster, kids are going to have a blast on this thing. It'll be a big win. So now we have one more coaster to talk about. Let's go back to Europe for the weirdly named Yoi coming to Walibi Holland. This will be the long-awaited Dueling Arm Sea Raptor coming to Walibi Holland. The green side of the coaster will be focused more towards thrill seekers, but the blue side will be more family focused, and construction on this thing is nearly complete for right now, which is actually pretty wild. It has been topped off, both sides in fact, but I think the GP over in the Netherlands will love this coaster. It's a spectacle watching the coasters duel, and the layouts for both sides are pretty unique to one another, but that is mostly all the roller coasters opening up in 2025. This year is shaping up to be one of the best coaster years yet. Hopefully not a lot of delays, and most of these coasters will actually open, but I'm not 100% sure about Six Flags Qiddiya, Vedanta World, and Andromeda Base. But I think the other coasters have a big shot of opening this year. There is a lot to look forward to in 2025, so hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to give it a like if you want to. And please subscribe so you can help us get to our goal of 700 subscribers until 2026. And like always, make sure to keep that adrenaline pumping, and thanks for watching.